so that folks who maybe were not able to join us today live can look back and see what we were talking about. So just want to make everyone aware of that. And also, if there are some questions that we're not able to get to during today's webinar, we will send out a recap of today's meeting, hopefully with some questions and some answers that we were not able to get to. So first thing I wanted to start out doing is something that I've seen done in a couple of other Zooms that I'm in, to hopefully to encourage some interaction during this Zoom. I would love to know what the one word is that describes kind of how you're feeling right now as you're thinking about summer, as schools are winding down, as we're still dealing with COVID-19. So if you could just put in the chat box, what is the one word that would describe how you're feeling right now, so we can kind of see what folks are feeling. So I'm seeing, yes, a lot of anxious, unsure. I love the positiveness of this is definitely an opportunity, and you can feel hopeful. I'm definitely sure a lot of us have felt overwhelmed, to be sure, with kind of everything that's falling in our laps right now. So I love that we do have a mix of all kinds of things, right? So I can definitely empathize with everyone who has felt overwhelmed. I think that this whole crisis has brought a lot of new and different things that we're not used to dealing with. But I love that there are a lot of us out there who do see this as an opportunity, and we can figure out how we can move forward. So we're really excited about that. So thank you so much for sharing how you're feeling. So I'm going to share my screen with you so we can just go through a couple of things real quick. So for those of you who, there we go. Sorry about that. So for those of you who don't know much about the Kentucky Out of School Alliance, we were established in 2009, and we are the statewide advocacy, policy, and support network for all out-of-school time providers. So we understand that we have a bunch of different constituencies in the out-of-school time world. So it'd be everything from licensed school-age childcare programs to 21st century programs, to out-of-school time programs that are occurring in libraries and churches, other nonprofits, and any and all individuals who have a vested interest in the out-of-school time space. We do like to point out that we have some amazing colleagues that are doing lots of great advocacy and policy work in the early childhood education space. And we love to support them in what we do, but we are solely focused on school-age programs in youth. So any kid from kindergarten through 12th grade. We are part of a national network of after-school support systems for program providers. And so the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation was the founder of our 50-state network. We continue to work with the Mott Foundation and with our sister networks in all of their states to talk about best practices and to share resources. We're also the state affiliate for the After School Alliance. So the After School Alliance is based in Washington, D.C., and is our lead advocacy and policy organization with federal lawmakers when it comes to issues that are important to after school. I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with their work. The After School Alliance is who puts on Lights On After School, the event in October that highlights the amazing work that so many of you are doing in communities all over the Commonwealth. In addition to the After School Alliance, we are also Kentucky's state affiliate for the National After School Association. So NAA is really more of a professional development and organization that provides resources directly to program providers. And so we have a great relationship with them, being able to bring in some national resources to folks on the ground here in Kentucky, and to also share a lot of the great work that you're doing with them that they can hopefully lift up on a national level. And so the Kentucky Out of School Alliance, our fiscal agent, our fiscal sponsor is Save the Children. So Save the Children is an international organization doing a lot of great work on behalf of kids all over the world, and especially right here in the United States. Save the Children's biggest programmatic footprint in the United States is here in Kentucky. So really focused a lot on Eastern Kentucky and the programs that are operating there. And so we're really lucky to have an organization like Save the Children be our fiscal sponsor, be able to bring a lot of the great expertise that they have to bear in our work as well. And so also who we are just an alliance of amazing individuals like yourselves and the organizations that many of you represent, really focused exclusively on promoting the amazing things that can happen outside the traditional classroom. So we want to be that voice for all of you with obviously our federal lawmakers, but also state lawmakers, local policymakers, and other state agencies to really lift up how out-of-school time programs can be a resource in kind of a lot of issues that affect not only kids, but whole families and whole communities. I know that obviously you're very vested in the work that you're doing, and you see the positive outcomes that come out of it every single day with the kids and families and communities that you work with. And so we want to be that megaphone for you and be able to lift up and to bring resources to bear to make your life a little bit easier. So just want to lift up some of the amazing members of our strategic leadership team. So our strategic leadership team really functions as kind of our board of directors for the Kentucky Out of School Alliance. So we have a great group of individuals who are really vested in the work that we're doing and being able to connect us with the resources that we need and also help us think very strategically about what our role is in the Commonwealth and what our role is working on behalf of all of you who are doing so much great work in your communities. I'm a very mission-centric person, so I like to always have our mission front and center of when we're trying to make decisions. And so I just wanted to share that with you, that we really are trying to support that continued growth, development, and accessibility of high quality out of school time programs. We really believe in the power of out of school time programs to promote success of kids in our state. And so we want to make sure that they not only have access to an after school program, we want to make sure they have access to a really high quality one. And that's what we're working so hard on, to bring resources to Kentucky and to provide any support that we can for you. We would not exist without amazing work that you're doing out in the field in your own community. So I really do encourage you, anytime that you have an issue come up, or anytime there's a barrier that you see in front of you, please do not ever hesitate to reach out to us, and we're more than happy to brainstorm with you. We're more than happy to connect you with some of the resources that we have access to, or really just, be there to commiserate. Myself, I came to this position working in out of school time programs really from the time I was 16. I started as a youth worker in a summer program here in my community, and then kind of never got out of that game, and was a 21st century site coordinator, a project director. So I really can understand the work that you're doing and the struggles that you're going through. So always feel free to reach out anytime that you just need somebody to talk through some issues, or if we can help connect you with resources, we'd be more than happy to. Just wanted to highlight some areas of work that we do. I've talked a lot about being that network of support to you in the field and to anyone else who has a really vested interest in the out of school time space. We also want to be a connector. So we want to be able to connect providers with training, with resources, with tools. And we also want to be a connector of state agencies with providers with other providers. We really just want to be able to connect you with the resources that will make your life a little bit easier, and so we can lead to the highest quality programs for kids throughout the entire state. And we really want to be that advocate. So we spend a lot of our time trying to get meetings with our federal, our state, and our local policymakers, so that we can really lift up the work that you're doing and see why it's so important, especially now obviously during COVID-19 and moving forward to our recovery, we've talked a lot about with policymakers, there will not be any kind of economic recovery without out of school time programs. So we know that parents rely on our programs so much, so they know that their kids are safe, they know that they're engaged, they know that they're doing something constructive. So we know that we're not going to have any economic recovery without them. So we'll continue to be that megaphone and be that lead advocate for the resources that we need here in the Commonwealth. When we're talking about summer programming, this is one of our current projects that we're working on that I really wanted to lift up today. So we are working with our sister networks from around the country to develop summer activity guides. So these are going to be 150 activities and challenges organized by 4 different age groups and be really age appropriate to be able, for you to be able to use either sending them out virtually, sending them as take-home packets, or if you are able to provide an in-person program, this can maybe take some of that weight off your shoulders to have some really great engaging activities and challenges already planned for you. So we are going to be releasing them in 5 batches bi-weekly starting next week. So we'll have a dedicated space on our website, KYOSA's website, that you can go and download these resources. So in those 5 batches, they will be themed. So the 5 different themes that we'll have throughout the summer are: one is who I am, I'm sorry. It's going to be a more kind of social, emotional learning based activities and challenges. Our second theme is going to be healthy life, so based around health and wellness. Our third one is going to be passion and purpose, so a lot around service learning and how to connect with your community. Our fourth theme is going to be invention and innovation, so a very STEAM-focused group of activities. And then our fifth and final one will be exploring my world, so just trying to kind of open up kids' eyes to the world around them. We want to be very clear that these activities and challenges they are designed to be a real break from the non-traditional instruction work that kids have spent the past few months doing. So these are really designed to be high quality, engaging activities that kids can do with their families, or if you're setting up virtual ways to connect, maybe you could do them in a group setting like that. In addition to the activities and challenges, we will also be providing some supplementary materials, both for professional development for you as a provider, but also ways that families can take some of the activities and we can enhance family engagement as well. So we're going to send out an email tomorrow to our distribution list, KYOSA's distribution list, with more details about the summer activity guides. So if you currently don't sign up for our newsletter, please go to our website. Right at the bottom, you can sign up. It's very quick and easy, and you can have access to all these. In addition, I think the best part about this, these are all going to be free through KYOSA for you to use. So we understand, and we saw in that poll today that people are really unsure about summer, and so we're hoping that this will make your life a little bit easier. So we're really excited to provide this project. One of the other current projects that we're working on is we are doing our best to map out what Kentucky's out-of-school time programs look like. There has never before been a map quite like this. There's been a lot of work to map licensed childcare programs and be able to kind of see where the gaps are in communities. But what we're trying to do with this project is be more comprehensive, and that it will include licensed school-age programs, but also our federally funded programs to the 21st Century Community Learning Center program, and also include our partners with YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and Save the Children. And so we're really trying to do some work here to be able to show policymakers where we have gaps in service throughout the state. And so Our partners with the Division of Childcare and 21st Century have been gracious enough to help us distribute a survey out to program directors. So if you are a program director of a licensed school-age childcare site or a 21st Century program and you did not receive this survey yet, I would encourage you, please check those junk and spam folders where we know so many emails go to die, but also if you did not receive it, you can't find it, please reach out to us so that we can make sure that we get your information included in the survey, because it'd be really important. Our goal for this project is to launch our publicly facing map on October 22nd to celebrate Lights On After School Day. And we'll also be publishing a brief report on kind of what does the landscape look like for out of school time programs in Kentucky. We're really excited about the public facing map that we'll be able to host on our website in collaboration with our partner Policy Map. I think, as many of you, I'm a grant writer as well. And so for those of us who are writing grants, it'll be a grant writer's dream, because you'll be able to see not only where are out of school time programs through Kentucky, but through the collaboration with Policy Map, you'll be able to layer a lot of different data sets and points, including things like educational attainment, poverty, workforce issues. We'll be able to look at access to broadband internet, to computers, just a whole host of different demographic and data points, so we can really see and do some data analysis on where our programs are and what we need in different areas of the state. So we're hopeful that that will be a great resource for all of you. Last but not least, I did want to just pull up our website in case you have not gone there yet. Please feel free to visit our website, kyoutofschoolalliance.org. It does have a lot of resources on there for you, including we do have an online learning system. So, if you are in need of professional development hours, we have a whole host of different online trainings that are available to you absolutely for free. In addition, we do have a COVID-19 resource page that I did want to lift up today. So we have a whole host of different resources linking to both in-state resources and with our national partners through the After School Alliance, National After School Association, National Summer Learning Association. So really anything and everything that you might need. I know, as I've heard from a lot of folks in the field, that folks felt overwhelmed just by the number of emails that they were getting to say, hey, look, this is a resource, this is a free resource, use this, use that. So we've tried to do a lot of work on our COVID-19 resource page to really weed out things that we did not think were super helpful, and really try to lift up those that we think are really high quality that you can use both in your program and for use with your families. The one thing that I did want to lift up right now, as it's a hot topic, is this briefing tool from the After School Alliance, making the case to local education leaders. Kind of as we all know, with the CARES Act that was passed in Congress a few weeks ago, that provided quite a substantial amount of money to go to the states and then back out to local school districts. And we were very grateful as a state network that our partners at the After School Alliance were able to get language into that final version of the CARES Act that did lift up after school and summer learning programs as an allowable use of funds for that CARES Act money. And so our friends at the After School Alliance did make this briefing tool so that you can go to your local education leaders and really have that conversation about why they should be using some of those funds to support after school and summer learning programs. Even if we're not going to be able to be with students in person this summer, eventually in the fall, school will return at some point. And we know that after school programs can really be a great supplemental tool for the learning loss that kids have experienced over the past few months. And unfortunately, many of them will continue to experience over the summer until we're back in session. So that was a quick kind of recap of KYOSA and kind of what we're able to provide. And so right now I did want to bring in Andrea Day, who's going to join us as our special guest today. So Andrea is the Assistant Director with the Division of Childcare. She recently celebrated her 20th year with the Commonwealth. She joined the Division of Childcare in October of 2017 and was responsible for implementing the National Background Check Program. Prior to childcare, she did work in the office of the Ombudsman's Complaint Review Branch and also as a frontline social worker. So Andrea also is a member of our strategic leadership team at KYOSA. And so we're really grateful to have her voice and her expertise kind of guiding us through the way. So I'm going to hand it over to Andrea so she can do some intro remarks, and then we'll get to some questions. So Andrea, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Hearing that I'm a 20-year veteran of state government makes me feel really old when I hear other people say that out loud. Thank you for inviting me to speak to this group. Childcare right now is, we're in flux. We are waiting, just like all of you, to hear today's announcement about what reopening will look like. We've been shut down since March 20th, and that was 2,200 programs with an overall capacity of about 165,000 slots for children. So we amended our state plan to allow us to pay CCAP based on enrollment versus on attendance. We have also started paying the copays for our CCAP families as well. Kentucky was lucky to be awarded a large sum of CARES money. We tried to distribute that as equitably as possible across the state. Those sustainment payments to non-LDC centers started going out last week and continue to be processed this week. And that is $225 per child based on license capacity. We are also issuing hero bonuses to those who are working in LDCs to recognize the risk that they have taken and the importance that they're serving to society as a whole in keeping these open. The LDCs are also receiving a stipend based on the capacity listed on the LDC application that they filled out with OIG. We are working on plans and waiting approval for the last round of money to go out. That's with the Secretary's office, and as soon as we know how that's going to be used, we will be broadcasting that far and wide. If you're not part of our listserv, please join. We are trying to be as transparent as possible and putting out information as soon as we have it. We want to do everything we can to support all providers across the state. So if you are not a part of that listserv, you can send an email to DCC listserv, LISTSERV @ky.gov. That way, anything that we send out, you will find out. Childcare Aware is also sharing that on their Facebook page, as well as the Department for Community-Based Services. For those of you that operate after-school programs, one thing that has come to our attention is your sustainment payment may have gone directly to the school and could be deposited into the school's general fund account. With the CARES money, there were some stipulations as to what it needed to be used for. We have sent an email to Commissioner Brown to get some clarification about the best way to handle that, to make sure that the money goes where it needs to go. So please know that that is on our radar. And to watch today's press conference at 5 o'clock, the governor announced yesterday that Secretary Friedlander would be making some announcements about reopening. We'll find out at the same time you do. We are going to work very diligently to get training out to all of our providers about what the new normal will look like moving forward. It's a very uncertain time right now, but we are leaning on all of our community partners and the expertise that we have available to us to hopefully be able to sustain statewide capacity and to support our providers to move forward. Does anybody have any questions? I know that was kind of quick.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that update, Andrea. I think, if you have any questions for Andrea, please type those into the chat box, and we will get to as many questions as we possibly can. But I had just had a few questions that I just wanted to start with. Andrea, can you just tell us maybe something that has, during these past couple months, as folks have been responding to COVID-19, what's something that has really stood out for you and kind of surprised you as you continue to work with your colleagues at the state, but also work with providers out in the field?
There's been, I think, a sense of unity in such a trying time and in such a time of uncertainty. Of everyone is being very thoughtful and purposeful and trying to really think big picture and about all the implications that the current landscape present us with right now. But we have a very strong provider network across the state. They rely on one another, and they don't hesitate to contact us with any questions or ideas, which is great to have that give and take relationship. So, it's really just highlighted what an amazing group that we have that serve the children here in Kentucky.
That's really awesome. I think that, as I've continued also to connect with folks throughout the state and to, hear from different advocates throughout the Commonwealth, I've been really impressed just by the ability of folks to almost turn right on a dime and be able to change the way that they're operating, rethink the way they're operating. I've had a lot of conversations with my colleagues in the other 50 state networks, and a lot of what we've been talking about is that, especially for folks who are being able to provide services virtually right now, that really is not something we ever thought about in the out of school time world a lot. That kind of the whole value of out of school time programs was that they were in person, they were engaging, they were in small groups, and the ability of so many of our professionals and advocates throughout the state to be able to make that change has been, I think, really inspiring for sure.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of pivoting.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I'm wondering, I think that there is a lot of conversation now about what does the future look like, or kind of what does the new normal look like. Have you all had any conversations at the Division of Childcare, or just kind of your thoughts about what maybe the future, the new normal looks like?
There's been lots of conversations, but at this point, until we know what the guidelines are and what the vision is, that's really just speculation. And we are trying to keep our feet on the ground, and any decisions that we make are based on what the actual circumstances are. Because it's easy to think what would be best, what could be best, and that can get away from you. So we are trying to stay very grounded in the guidance that we're given or the parameters that are being set, and working from those and focusing on those as they're made available to us, and then working from there, but also making sure that any decisions that we make, that we're trying to bring all stakeholders into the conversation: public health, our coaching staff, the Division of Regulated Childcare, KDE. We're trying to get everybody around the table to where we have a true community buy-in to what will be best.
Yeah, I think, you know, when we've been having conversations, especially the Mott Foundation has put together a, and I will just say, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt myself and just say, please continue to, if you have questions for Andrea specifically, or just general questions for me or for KYOSA, or just kind of for the field in general, please continue to put those in the chat box, and we'll get to those, as many questions as we can. I did want to lift up that the Mott Foundation has put together, you know, a group of, I think, some brilliant minds from around the country, both kind of like state agency leadership, but also program leadership, and also just some thought leaders and partners in the out-of-school time and education space, to think of what does after school look like in the future. You know, I think that many of us that have been working in this world for quite a long time have sometimes felt pigeonholed by what we can do and what we can't do, and kind of what others have thought of as what is after school, what is summer learning. And so I think they're really trying to look at how can we break some of those norms and really branch out into how can after school be a leader going forward into the new normal. I think we, especially in our field, do a great job at addressing the social and emotional learning aspects for kids. And so I think that as we come out of COVID-19, I think we all can recognize that so many kids have experienced real trauma during this, whether it's being isolated, whether, you know, whatever that looks like. And so I do think that out-of-school time programs will have a big responsibility when we get back into whatever our new normal is, to be leading on trauma-informed care and be leading on issues around social and emotional learning, for sure.
Absolutely.
It looks like we have a question from Anne, and Anne is talking about licensed after-school programs in her school district. And I think she was wondering if you're at all concerned that schools will not allow after-school services in their buildings as you know, they figure out what reopening looks like.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a question that I'm anxious to hear what the plans are. I believe that schools have been asked to come up with 4 different plans about what it will look like come the fall. And that is just something that we will be anxiously waiting to see what decisions are made. And once those decisions are made, to come up with the best plan possible.
No, absolutely. I think, you know, in addition to, you know, what you had talked about, Andrea, being impressed by just the unity of people coming together and working on different projects, it's also been impressive, the flexibility that everybody have, right? I mean, you make
Absolutely.
plan A, you make plan B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down the whole alphabet, I think.
Exactly, and then come up with some hybrids.
Yeah, exactly. So I think kudos to everybody for being as flexible as possible as we try to figure this out. So I did want to actually lift up Lori. Thank you for lifting up in that, you know, our feeding requirements for summer feeding programs have received that waiver. So hopefully there is a lot more flexibility out there for folks to be able to provide meals throughout the summer. We do have a great link on our COVID-19 resource page to the Food Research and Action Center for ACT. So they have a lot of great updates on summer feeding, but also after school meals, and kind of the policy and what's going on throughout the entire country when it looks like when it relates to feeding programs. So definitely take a look at that. So looks like Karen is bringing up thinking about programs that take place in school buildings, but maybe over the summer time. And I think, to Andrea, it's going to be the same thing, right? We're really waiting on additional guidance from KDE, from the governor, and then local school districts making that decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. One other question that I had for you, Andrea, is just, I know we kind of talked about the future of out of school time programs, but for what do you think is most needed right now in terms of support, like for an organization like KYOSA, with our national partners that we have? What would be the number one, or maybe like a top 2 or 3 things that we could be doing to support folks in the field right now?
To continue to support any professional development opportunities that may be out there, health and safety, and the social emotional learning piece. Obviously we care very much about quality, but right now our biggest concern is health and safety. But in health and safety, these kids, their whole world has been turned upside down, just like ours has. And so the social emotional piece is going to be crucial. Like you alluded to earlier, we're very much concerned about increased child maltreatment and the trauma that kids have either experienced directly or indirectly. So I think that is going to be a big focus, and it should be a big focus as we get back to whatever our new normal is.
No, that's great. And we're standing by ready to do kind of anything and everything that we can do to be supportive to those of you who are out in the field and doing the work. So, please continue to reach out to us, and we're hopeful that we can help in any way we can. Shout out to Mr. Ian Smith and his organization School Aid for offering up some online activities for out of school time folks. I will give him a good plug. I've worked with Ian for a number of years when I was an out of school time program director. He and his team over at School Aid do provide some awesome activities, and they're really 100% about your kids and about their well-being. So kudos to them for being able to also pivot and try to help folks during this crazy time. So I know he left his number and his web address there in the comments, so feel free to take a look at that. Ian, would you like to say anything about that?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'm sorry, I don't know if that was appropriate, but I just wanted to at least, we've talked to a lot of clients. I feel like at this point I'm kind of a counselor to a lot of coordinators in the after-school world, and we're doing our best to try to navigate this, these changes, and with change becomes, opportunity. I really think that a lot of the online learning that we're coming up with is going to be a great opportunity to bring access to, a lot of our kids even after this. If it wasn't, I don't think I would spend as much time digging into it. But, like Tom said, he's trying to get access to a lot of kids at all times with this organization. And, sometimes transportation is an issue, and online learning could help with that. Sometimes it's really hard to get a middle schooler to stay after school and do a drama club, but maybe they would go home and do a video game design club at their comforts of their own home, so they're not, then the bullying won't happen and like that kind of thing. So I think with this time, it comes a lot of opportunity for change, and I think we have a lot of things to offer. If nothing else, just ideas on how that can happen. But we also have a lot of, online activities. We're calling on-demand activities to offer your kids and, students wherever. Because now, usually we would just work with Northern Kentucky and Greater Cincinnati schools, and now this kind of gives us the opportunity to work with a lot more than that. I know I see a lot of the faces and people that I've seen at 21st Century conferences. It's good to see you guys, and I'll leave you alone now.
Thanks for sharing that, Ian. You bring up a really good point, and that's something that we want to be advocating for as well, especially trying to eliminate this digital divide that really has reared its ugly head during COVID-19. I would encourage you to take a look at our partners, the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence. They are leading a campaign right now to try to get our federal policymakers to really look at internet access, as a basic necessity, just like electricity, heat, and water. I think this pandemic has really showed us that that really is the case. I don't think any of us would stand for our water or our electricity working sometimes, but not others. And so we really need, especially now, to have everyone to have access to high quality, reliable internet service. And so please take a look at what the Pritchard Committee is doing on that. We've joined their efforts to be able to lift that up as an important topic for out of school time providers. And we're hoping that can get some attention. So I did see that we had a great question from Shannon. She's with the Girl Scouts and having some issues trying to get connected with schools to get their virtual programming out to kids. And I think, Shannon, we'd be more than happy to be a connector for you in that space. So depending on where you are in the state, please reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help be that connector for you. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And so as we continue we're going to wrap up here. If there are no other questions for me, for others, for Andrea, I did want to thank you all for joining us here at our inaugural virtual town hall. Our plan is, if you felt like this was beneficial to you and you would like to see these happen more often, kind of on the bottom of your screen, there's a reaction button. If you could give me maybe a thumbs up that you liked this and that you want us to continue those, we'll do kind of an informal poll like that to see if we should continue them. Looks like a lot of people found it useful. So we'll work on continuing these, bringing in some additional state leaders, some national thought partners to be able to provide some updates. So kind of as we close out, I am going to launch one more poll, and I kind of want to I want to get your thoughts on what could be some additional support or maybe even topics at additional town halls. So if you could, as you're leaving our meeting today, take a look at our closing poll and let us know kind of what you think would be helpful in your work. So like I said in the beginning, and I'll continue to say, please never hesitate to reach out to KYOSA. We're here to support you in the amazing work that you're doing every single day with kids and families. So I hope that you all have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon. Thanks, everybody.